Hello, and in this part 2 video I'm going to describe a time you made a complaint and you were happy with the result. And you should say when it happened, who you complained to, what you complained about, and explain why you were happy with the result. Thought long and hard about this one, trying to think of something that everybody could use if you wanted to use the same topic as me. So it's a true story, I'm talking about a time I made a complaint in a hotel. So I think it's one that lots of people can use in their IELTS Part 2 answer. To be brutally honest, I'm a serial complainer. So there are numerous stories I could tell you, because I believe in getting the service or product you have paid for. However, I've decided to talk about an incident that took place relatively recently. I was staying in a hotel in Manchester, not a particularly expensive hotel normally, but because there was a concert taking place at the arena next door, the prices had quadrupled that particular night. Unfortunately, all the other hotels were booked solid, so I'd no alternative and had to pay through the nose for this budget hotel. My daughter and I were going to the concert, and because of the late finish time, I wanted to be relatively close to the venue. We checked in, grabbed a quick bite to eat, and then went to the show, which was truly amazing. When we got back to the room, we were shattered, and it was nearly midnight, so we went straight to bed. We'd only been asleep for about half an hour when we were rudely awoken by some guests who had obviously been drinking and were singing songs from the concert we had been to earlier. We had to get up early the next morning to get to work and school, so you can imagine how annoyed we were at this rude awakening. The singing carried on for about an hour, stopped, and then started again at 3 a.m. When we were checking out the next morning, I was in a very bad mood and said to the receptionist that the walls must be paper thin because our sleep was disturbed by the noise from other guests. The receptionist was apologetic and without asking said, "I will refund the cost of the room and please have a complimentary breakfast on us." I was shocked because I wasn't expecting that, but also very impressed with the great customer service in that hotel. Okay, so let's take a look. I've done quite a long answer here. In the IELTS exam, this is probably more than 2 minutes. You will not remember all of it, so you will hopefully remember 2 minutes worth of things to say. If the IELTS examiner stops you after 2 minutes, don't think, oh, I've made a mistake or this is bad, I'm going to get a lower grade. They have to be very strict with time, and it doesn't matter if you haven't finished. It's not like IELTS writing where you must write your conclusion in task 2 or you'll get a lower grade. In part 2 IELTS speaking, it doesn't matter. The examiner just has to listen to you for 2 minutes and then stop you. So let's take a look. To be brutally honest, this means to be very honest. So you can just use to be honest. If you want to try and make it a bit more complex, use less common vocabulary. To be brutally honest. A serial complainer. A serial anything means somebody who does something a lot. A serial complainer, a serial time waster, a serial latecomer. So you always do it. So it means I complain a lot. Numerous means many. You can use it in IELTS writing as well as speaking. I believe in getting. This is just a grammar point to point out. When we use believe in followed by a verb, it's an ing verb. I believe in eating. I believe in going. I believe in having. An incident is something that's happened. So the thing I'm talking about, the incident that happened. And notice I've used relatively twice. I've used relatively recently, relatively close. I'm using it to try and reinforce it and to try to get you to use it. And it means quite recently, quite close compared to other things. So you can use relatively recently, relatively expensive, relatively cheap. So try to start using this instead of quite. There is a lot of great grammar in this answer. When you're talking about something in the past, we can use the past continuous. I was staying. You can use lots of good tenses. Past continuous is useful for describing activities in the past, sort of setting the scene. So I was staying in a hotel in Manchester. Great use of grammar. Not a particularly expensive hotel. Not that expensive. Normally, usually. Here, past perfect. IELTS examiners love this. Use it in IELTS Writing Task 1 Academic to say something had happened before a particular time in the past. So by 2006, the price of cars had doubled. Here I'm saying the prices had quadrupled. They were 4 times higher, and this event had occurred in the past, so it had quadrupled before I booked it. To be booked solid, they were booked solid. It means fully booked, completely booked. I had no alternative. This means no other option. An alternative is another option. Here's something very idiomatic that you wouldn't use in IELTS writing, but it's great for speaking. To pay through the nose for something, and it means to pay a lot of money. A budget hotel. This is a very cheap hotel. Your very basic hotels that are not fancy, usually don't include breakfast. You have to pay extra for it. Relatively close, like I said before, quite close. The venue is a place where an event such as a concert takes place. And then when we're talking about hotels, we talk about checking in, checking out. This means arriving, leaving. To check in, to check out. And this is quite idiomatic. Again, very good for IELTS speaking and useful for lots of topics. To grab a quick bite to eat. It means to have a small meal, not a big meal. Another useful word for lots of topics, tired, shattered. I was shattered. And to go straight to bed is just a phrase we use all the time when you go in and you go straight to bed. You don't do anything else. Well, you will brush your teeth and have a wash, but it means you don't sit down and have a chat or have coffee or watch TV. You go straight to bed. We'd only been asleep. This is the past perfect, and it's saying something took place before something else in the past. It's quite an easy tense to use because it's just had plus the past participle, but a lot of non-native speakers don't use it because maybe you don't use it in your language. But if it's something that you're familiar with, get it in your IELTS speaking exam because it's impressive. We were rudely awoken. And a rude awakening. This is when you are woken up and you're not happy about it. So rudely awoken, a rude awakening. So when somebody wakes you up and you didn't want to be woken up. Who had obviously been drinking. So here we've got the past perfect continuous, very complex. And were singing, the past continuous. Had been to, the past perfect. So you can see this topic gives you lots of opportunities to use complex grammar. Don't just stick to past simple. If you just use past simple, it's 5 or 6. You need this range to be getting into the higher band scores. The singing carried on. To carry on means to continue. Remember to check in, to check out. So when we were checking out, it's when you're leaving and you go to the reception desk and you pay your bill. To be in a bad mood or to be in a very bad mood, good for describing other things, describing people. He is always in a bad mood, and it's when you're grumpy, annoyed, You can be in a good mood, but here I was in a very bad mood. And I said to the receptionist, the walls must be paper thin. If something's paper thin, it's the depth of paper. So you're saying it's very, very thin. And we often use it to describe walls where all the sounds come through them. You can hear everything taking place in the next room. They're paper thin. Our sleep was disturbed. This means it was interrupted by the noise. We often talk about disturbed sleep when something or someone wakes you up. The receptionist was apologetic. This is an adjective, that means very sorry. It comes from the verb to apologise. If somebody's apologetic, they're sorry for something. A complimentary breakfast. This means a free one. If anything is complimentary, it's free. You don't have to pay for it. And I wasn't expecting that. For something that I didn't go and complain, hoping to get the room for free and hoping for the free breakfast. I wasn't expecting that, but I got it free. And, it was great customer service. So if you're talking about a complaint you've made and then you're happy with the result, it will be because of the good or the great customer service that you have received. A lot of grammar, a lot of vocabulary in my answer. Don't panic, don't think you have to get everything in there. Try and remember a few things, like, to be brutally honest, I'm a serial complainer. Apologetic is a useful word, a complimentary whatever, something that you're given for free. So think about the topic that you would talk about if you got this, but I think this hotel complaint is a very good one and an easy one to talk about. Thanks for watching.